Okay, so the next thing we got to do is put the oil pan on, and we're moving right along now. Now the trouble spots on these engines for an oil pan leak is right here where the timing cover meets the block, and back here where the block meets the rear main cap. Now in the previous videos you saw me knock down the pins and file them off and all that. What we're going to do is put a little thin wipe of RTV here and here and right here. And we're going to let that spread around a little bit. Then we're going to paint with the aviation sealer. We could RTV it. Then we're going to paint the top of the gasket with the aviation sealer. And then very carefully set the oil pan on here. Now we know that the oil pump bolts are tight. We're going to give them one more turn with the wrench real quick just to be sure. That's tight. That's tight. We've double checked all our rods. We've double checked the mains. Oops, I grabbed the wrong wrench. Yeah, that's it. And we've checked our pickup stud. Now, some of you are going to question having a stud on this side and a bolt on this side. Like I said, it's not ideal. It does work, and in this case, the torque is the same. 110, 95 to 110 for the stud, and 95 to 105 for the bolt. Now, what I did, this is spread out a little more even. I went ahead, done a little research, talked to some other Ford engine builders. I went ahead and torqued this one to 110 just like the stud. Now the clamping force is spread out better down this side of this cap. But this is really the best place for this to happen because this is also the thrust cap. It's got the most bearing surface in both dimensions of the crankshaft. So it should be okay. Now when I take my 351 apart to fix it, the one that I took out when I did the 408 swap on the black car, we're going to see, because that main cap's the same way. So now let's get the pan on this. We'll roll the engine back over. We're going to do one more thing, and then the next step's going to be to fit the manifold, and I'm going to make that its own video. So I'm going to go ahead and get the RTV moving, and just like the toothpaste, you want to start at the bottom of the tube. I'm going to start at the side, work my way this way, and I'm going to put a groove down in there. I'm going to put a little bead next to it, and then I'm going to come down the back side and put another little bead back there. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I want to go that way and kind of push it down in there, and then I want to come up this side here, then I want to come back to the back. I want to put a bead on right on top of this here, fill up that gap. And if it goes past a little bit, that's fine. As a matter of fact, we want to get right here. There's the pin. And once you do one of these engines and you've got it in front of you, you'll see it. It'll make more sense. You just kind of want to walk back and forth. That'll get a good load of it right there. Now some people will reach down in here and put a streak on the inside. I've never seen where that was necessary. I can't see it would hurt anything either. But what I'll do is when we get it off the stand, I'll put a wipe back here. That way you can kind of see it. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do it right now, because this block's pretty clean. I'm going to go ahead and just run me a squeeze up the back here. Just kind of work it into that little bit of gap that's there between the block and the main. There we go. Alright. So now we're going to do the same thing we did up front. We're going to push right up against that RTV. And we're going to paint this surface. And I'm going to let that ooze in there and just kind of work it around a little bit. Let it go right up against the RTV. And back here in the back, just kind of follow the curve of your gasket. Now I've seen some people paint this whole surface right here to help it not rust, but we'll come back with the spray paint and a piece of cardboard and make that pretty. And we may get some running down the side of the block here while we're doing this, and we need to wipe that off before it dries so we don't mess the paint up. And I know I'm putting this on a little thick back here, but the trick is to cover the whole pan rail. Time to set the gasket in place, and you want to get this bad boy as close as you can. To your bolt holes. And as you can see, it's running over the back a little bit. That won't hurt anything. And then given that that's a coated oil pan, I think what I'm going to do, since we're not bare metal around the top, I'm going to go ahead and paint the gasket. And as you notice, that gasket has quit moving as I'm rubbing on it. That's because the sealer on the back side is grabbing it, because I put a little pressure on it back there. This stuff's kind of pressure activated. And we're going to give a little push up here at the front. Keep right on going. And this is the point where you can't stop. If the phone rings, whatever, if it ain't a matter of life and death, you keep painting. Have your bolts on standby. Watch for spots where it may look a little less shiny after you go by painting, because those places are where you're going to go back again. Just like sealing an outdoor gasket. Watch for spots where it may look a little less than shiny after you go by painting, because those places are where you want to go back and hit it again. Just like sealing an outdoor gasket, you're sealing this oil pan gasket, so turn around this inside edge real quick, lightly. That seals that up too. Just like sealing them valve cover gaskets, you're sealing this oil pan gasket. So if you run around this inside edge real quick, just lightly, that seals that up too. Okay, so we're going to want to go on to the engine. Again, try to come down as close to your bolt holes as you can. You got a little bit of wiggle room. And what you want to do is start in the middle in the front and the middle in the back is the way I usually do it. Well, not that it's the middle because there's not really a middle bolt on this. Sometimes with aftermarket high volume pans, you get one where it's so tight up against the side that you can't get it with a socket. And that's what I'm dealing with over here. There's a dimple to clearance something in that oil pan. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, and this gasket's squitching out just like it did at the timing cover. I'm going to hit each one. I'm going to give it a little squish. And as you can see, my hand's moving quite a bit. That's how much that gasket shrunk already, just from the pressure of the pan coming down. We don't want to over tighten. That one's really loose. You'll see a little aviation sealer squeeze out here and there. There's a few dribbles I got to get off the block before it dries. Ooh, it's dribbling bad over here. That's a good sign and a bad sign. Blue shop towel. That means I got a little too much on it, and it's running down the inside too. And see, that one's loosened up again already, which was the first one I tightened up when I started. Now we're getting somewhere. So now we let it sit for a minute. I try to get all the fingerprints off that I possibly can. It's just good craftsmanship. Now you want to give it a light squirt of carburetor brake clean. Let it sit for a second, air off. And you just want to give it a quick wipe. You don't want to rub because you're going to take paint off. Up around the timing cover is an important place to check, because that's everybody can see there in most cars. And right now, a lot of places would tell you that this is a waste of time, but I mean, this is just me being me. The outside of my race car ain't always the prettiest thing in the world, but my engines are typically clean, except for that one I got right now, because, well, I didn't build it all. As I've said before, I modified it for use. And see, if you go ahead and wipe it, it comes right off. Now if you wait, you go, okay, I'm tired. I've been doing this for a couple hours now. I'm going to go eat lunch and come back. It's not going to wipe off that easy. And you want to keep turning your rag. And I just stuck this rag in the RTV, and now I got RTV on me. Thank you, sir. You see any more dribbles? Nope. Okay, so we've got a nicely buttoned up FE bottom end. Okay, so this is going to be its first time right side up with its new pan on it.